Submit questions. The best way to do that is through the online mobile app. I believe we'll have a slide up here shortly giving you instructions, again, on how to submit your questions. We'd love to have your feedback and questions, so please do that. We'll go ahead and start our next session we're very excited about. We are very honored to have the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox. President, yes, go ahead and give him a round of applause. We're excited about that. We had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a wonderful gentleman. I'll tell you a little bit about him and what he's going to be talking about. President Fox will be sharing his vision on developing science, technology, engineering, and math talent in emerging nations. The session will be moderated by Sajan Pillai. Sajan himself is a STEM leader and the CEO of UST Global, a global information technology company with over 12,000 employees. Please welcome to the stage President Vicente Fox and Sajan Pillai.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Who's first?
I think I'll briefly introduce you. Many of you may know President Vicente Fox and what he has done for the country of Mexico. It's extremely appropriate as the various IITians assemble here as an alumni with your mission of creating an impact through technology and through advancements for various countries. I think it's extremely appropriate for someone I have known for some time, someone who has changed the future and for generations for a country as big as Mexico. A little bit of facts about the impact President Fox made to the country of Mexico. As a member of the PAN Party has not been in power for over 70 years before President Fox led the change and came into power, defeating PRI. In a democratically led nation, after President Fox became the president of the country, significant amount of economic changes occurred. So much so that the Mexican capital markets, in its value, multiplied 300% through his tenure. It was a result of a number of things, liberalization, really exploiting NAFTA as a major policy decision, establishing bilateral trade agreements with a number of countries around the world. But most importantly was the hope and leadership of ushering Mexico into a new era. So thank you, President Vicente Fox, for being here.
And well, thank you for that introduction, Sergeant, and let me now introduce him. CEO of UST Global Corporation, which is doing big changes on IT strategy worldwide, who is expanding after the enormous success in the last 12 years in the US market with the global corporations, the Fortune 500. And we had the fortune to have a conversation in USC, University of Southern California. He was telling me that he was expanding down south, that he was thinking about Brazil or Chile, and immediately I reacted. I said, that's a mistake, Sergeant. Mexico is the place where you have to come. And Mexico has such a strong, large automobile industry cluster, such a manufacturing setup, which is larger than all of Latin America together, and which is one of the areas of the economy where Mexico has mastered. Today, I would say that is the most competitive cluster in the world. Even companies that we lost to China 10 years ago, now they're coming back. And they're coming back to Mexico. Now, but let me tell you about my interest of being here. First, to really thank IIT, all its alumni, and all of you here present for giving me this opportunity to learn many things that I didn't know just 2 days ago. To learn this spirit of unity, this cohesiveness around one successful idea, which is IIT, launched decades ago in India, and that has provoked not only great things for that great nation of India, but has had so many byproducts that have reached many different parts of the world. Today, India is known as the master of IT, the master of these technologies of the future. And India is showing the way to that future. And we're facing now not only an era of changes on innovation and technology, but really what we're witnessing is a change of era, of such a high impact and such a high influence this will have on the world of the 21st century. So thank you for giving me that opportunity being here with you. And of course, I have made the invitation for this great organization to come to Mexico, hopefully next year. And the invitation is serious, because if anything we need in Mexico, if anything we have learned from this, what you're doing for the world and for India, is to have the same unity of purpose, is to have the same gathering of so many talents around this one single idea. In Mexico, we do have many micro efforts, all of them sophisticated, all of them legitimate, but macro disintegrated. So please, again, accept my congratulations for this idea, to the founders of the idea, to those who dreamed and had the vision, but also to those of you that are doing this in practice. And my recognition to your loyalty to your nation, to your commitment with India, those that are here with India, those that are there with United States. That's the way to work in the world of today. So congratulations, and Sergeant, thank you for giving us the opportunity to work together in Mexico.
Thank you, President. Thank you. As many of the distinguished alumni of IIT sit here today at lunch, you know that the core of IIT is its focus on technology. As we know, technology, particularly information technology, has become the new oil of the 21st century. Just like the prosperity mechanism of the last century was driven by oil, this century will be heralded by technology. And one of the things that we have been fortunate in India is because of sometimes an accident of history, sometimes because of some forward planning, we have been able to usher in quality organizations like Indian Institute of Technology and many other engineering institutes. This has enabled us to produce talent in technology at scale. And I know you are a big proponent of migration of Mexican economy from industrial economy. Today, Mexico already has taken the lead, just inching China as the most productive in terms of manufacturing, in terms of total cost, which many of the folks may not know. But what do you see is the impact of science, technology, engineering, and math, and the ushering of Mexican economy into knowledge economy, being the hub of technology and innovation for the future?
Yes, I'm going to speak not only about Mexico, but also Latin America. And yesterday I heard in a summary of where technology can come to change the lives of these 500 million people that inhabit Latin America. The need for water, yes, today. The need to reduce hunger and poverty. The need for affordable health care, which is a key issue for human beings. Energy, at the service of people, homes, families, communities. Education, this morning was splendid. What we listened today here on this panel about education, and there's so many changes that are happening every minute of the day. And in Latin America, maybe in India and other places, we have not even yet solved the most basic problems of access to education. Still in Latin America, only 25% of kids, only 1 out of 4 have the opportunity to be sitting in a university. And this morning was the discussion very interesting, because how do we make to all these 75 kids out of 100 access to university level education? And it has to be through on-distance education, has to be done through technology, has to be done through the mobiles, has to be done through the cloud and all the knowledge that is right there, making it accessible to everybody. So for education and to reduce the gap that we have in Latin America against the developed nations, or India, same compared with the developed nation, is technology that will come to solve all of this. Rural style and the opportunities of indigenous communities, of villages out on the mountains, is technology that will come to solve. Even security, that in Mexico we're going through such terrible problems of violence because of cartels, drugs. Technology can bring security to our place in Mexico so that we can get out of the trap where we are today. So I think that it's illimited what this can do for our...
So President Fox, when UST came to Mexico, one of the charters, we work with some of the largest enterprises in the world. And Mexico was not, interestingly, a destination for applied mathematics and information technology. And one of the things we felt coming to Mexico, after looking at many other countries, Mexico is prime position. There are a lot of assets, but there is a brand issue in Mexico. So one of the things we decided together was to train 30,000 Mexicans in information technology and hire 10,000 of them immediately to make Mexico one of the center hubs in Western Hemisphere. But as this process was going through, one of the things, and many of the IIT alumni here would know this, there is a saying in India that says, India grows at night when the government sleeps. And the real thing is, the real question in India now is not sufficient to grow at night. We have to grow, we have to get out of the shadows and grow during the daytime too. So one of the questions often asked is, how progressive is the administration, the support for entrepreneurs, for technologists to come to Mexico and be successful as they have been in India and other places?
I think it's the time for Mexico to move ahead of this such a strong competitive manufacturing cluster that we are today. I think that Mexico has mastered on manufacturing, but now is the term of access to the new economy, to this new era that I described at the beginning. So the doors are totally open for this. Unfortunately, different to products that you have to transport, that you have to go through customs, that you have to do all that huge, heavy spending and work. In the case of IT, all of that is solved. And to me, seeing every day these 600 kids that have already been hired by UST Global in Mexico and that are working out of Centro Fox for the moment. On the meantime, they build this magnificent building they have projected there. To see those 600 kids there sitting on their working station and see how ideas, how their work flows out to the rest of the world, to the Walmarts, to the Costco's, to the Citibanks, to the Santander Bank, to everywhere. It's we have something in hand, not only which is good, splendid, quality jobs to those kids, but that they're bringing solutions and opportunities to improve efficiencies, to access more and more people that are, for the moment, out of progress and solutions. So to me, Mexico is already mature for this. It's the time of Latin America and Mexico, the time to India, China, and the seven tigers of Asia to take the lead, to be the engines of growth of the world economy. Because the two large blocks, Europe is tired, they don't seem to have the energy and the oxygen to keep growing at fast rates. Same thing with US economy, 1 to 2% growth, when Latin America is moving at a pace of 5 to 7, when Asia is moving at a pace of 7 to 10. So we're called to be not only the engines of the world, but the leaders of tomorrow.
That brings an interesting point, President Fox. After our initiative in Mexico to hire 10,000 engineers, we were invited, as you know, by Prime Minister Samaras of Greece and recently by Prime Minister Rajoy of Spain. And together we decided to open up a center in Spain for 5,000 engineers, which is one of the largest job creation efforts in Spain. Now, the question I have is, from your perspective, this wealth of technology and technology-driven jobs is going to have to be distributed somewhat uniformly around the world. This prosperity mechanism has to be distributed. What do you think the government should do in terms of producing enough talent so that these jobs can actually be exploited by those nations, by those communities, which today, many of the nations are just watching these things go by, and they're not participating in a participatory economy in this new job. And this important thing I suggest, because STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, and math jobs will be 70% of all the new jobs created in the US for the next 50 years. And the global numbers would be somewhat similar. Of that, information technology alone will produce more jobs in the next decade than all the other disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and math combined. So it's a massive job creation opportunity. Very few countries and very few universities, very few academic institutions, both from a four-year degree perspective and from an associate degree perspective, whether it's community college or alternate means of education, have recognized the potential of turning talent quickly into productive global workforce. What's your view on how Mexico is doing? We have our experience in Spain, now we are going into Africa. What's your view and reaction of that?
Well, what I see is opportunities ahead. One example here. We've been in the last month dedicating 24 hours a day on political discussions about the energy sector in Mexico, which, as you know, still is the only one single remaining monopoly in the world. All energy things in Mexico are controlled by government, and it's a government monopoly. So finally, we're waking up and seeing that that has to be changed and changed immediately. But all these discussions and energy dedicated to oil, when we see the figures, relevant figures according to gross product, oil in Mexico is not more than 8% of gross product, and is less than 5% of Mexico's exports. And everybody thinks that oil is a huge issue in Mexico. Well, look at this comparison. What India exports of IT services and solutions every year is 15 times what Mexico exports of oil. It's incredible that we invest so much time discussing a small part of our gross product. And what about speaking about education? I mean, education is the only way you can change a nation in one generation. And yet, the discussions on education are so basic, so far away from what we listened this morning, that something is wrong in our decision-making process. Governments in Latin America are responsible at least for 1/3 of gross product with the budget they handle. They're responsible for 20% of the workforce in every one of our nations. and they are far away from understanding what IT can bring to them. So the challenge we have, Sergeant, myself, Centro folks, is make sure that this powerful instrument of change, this powerful instrument of effectiveness, of efficiency, has to reach governments, because otherwise our economies are being controlled and limited on their capacity to grow. So I really dream that the presence of UST Global in Mexico and the other many companies dedicated to this will provoke that change. And I'm sure there is an alumni of IIT working in Mexico, doing business in Mexico, contributing to Mexico's development and growth. And I'd like to identify, and I'm gonna do that as soon as possible, so that we join in efforts, because I wanna make sure that this invitation for all of you, for Wheels, to make sure that next year we gather in Mexico and we connect North America, NAFTA, Mexico, and India on this issue and discover new frontiers of what we can do. So that's a task, that's the challenge for next year.
As many of you hold in our hands the cell phones, which have become smarter by the day, one of the magnificent things of a cell phone is, first of all, I hear that there are more cell phones now in the world than the total population of the world. So it's a phenomenon that has spread around the world faster than any known phenomenon ever in the history of humankind. This has got incredible potential to truly bridge the digital divide as we speak it. The smaller nations, the smaller companies, the common man can actually have a shot at having a good education for his family, having a good health care, having access to vital information that they can aspire to provide for their family and have a better future. It's never been possible at this scale before. Yet, if you look at the world over, we have significant questions as to the leverage and use of technology to increase the prosperity of human beings in many countries that you mentioned. So the digital divide is not solved. The government policies and the approach of the government and the awareness of government institutions is extremely key. One of the biggest things, we always talk about business-to-business commerce and business-to-consumer commerce. But I think in the future, one of the most important thing would be the citizens to government, the C2G interactions, which will really define the way people live in these nations. As we are talking to many governments, we find that they're just beginning to understand the role of a digital government, an e-government infrastructure. What's your view on how nations like Mexico, and for that matter, other nations in Latin America, can really embrace the digitization, the electronification of the government for accountability, for transparency, and uniform access?
Well, I've been in the two worlds. Private sector, I was president of the Coca-Cola company business in Latin America, and then I was governor in my state, and then I became president of Mexico. And let me tell you, I'm glad that I'm back to be a citizen, a humble citizen, more working on the private sector and on NGOs than working with governments. Governments are extremely complicated, extremely bureaucratic. They talk too much. They claim that they produce jobs. We created so many jobs this year, we created so much more the next year. They talk about creating wealth, and that's false. The only way to create wealth is through investment, through entrepreneurship, and through hard working of people every day. That's the way wealth is created, and those are responsible for the jobs that are created, not governments. So with this thing in mind, I want to make an invitation to you. Because right now, who are sitting on the driver's place are governments. And they have told us that they know where where they are going. That's absolutely false. They don't know where they are taking us. They don't know where they're going. We cannot be sitting on the back seat anymore. We citizens, we talents, we, like you, brains of the world, we have to take the driver's seat. We have to make sure that we, as a whole in a nation, conduct where we're going. And I come back again to IIT and those founding fathers and those visionary minds that knew where they were going. They made sure that you got there, and the result is what we have today. So that's what we have to do. Let's assume that responsibility. Let's work together on making governments efficient and making private sector productive.
Thank you, President Fox. This is a very important aspect to improving economies through science, technology, engineering, and math. An important component is entrepreneurship. 15 years ago, I had the opportunity to start a company in the garage of my home. I was in the garage for 2 years before we started building the company, and happy to be here with 15,000 engineers worldwide. Now, we just happened to catch some good luck. And also, one of the things that I found was the world is full of opportunity if we have entrepreneurial leadership in place. What impressed me most when I came to visit with you in Central Fox was the library, the only presidential library outside the United States that is established anywhere in the world, where you bring in every day kids all over from Mexico, mostly very poor kids, bring them into Central Fox, teach them about leadership, teach them about entrepreneurship, and you and Martha Fox make them commit and promise to you that they will have a better hope, they will do something that is bigger than themselves. That's young kids. And you do this every day. And that has got a profound impact. So as entrepreneurs, as we look around, we always try to hire people who are not necessarily highest IQ, highest academic qualifications, not necessarily. But they also have to have high amount of adversity quotient, the ability to find opportunities, to connect the dots. And that comes from a different mindset. That comes from, some believing that it's not always the size of the dog in the fight that matters, the size of the fight in the dog that really wins out. What do you have as a message to this team who have been involved with entrepreneurship in India and in the US and around the world for kind of looking at the role of companies, corporations, political leadership, and the governments in encouraging entrepreneurship and encouraging leadership in the country?
Well, it's absolutely mandatory. In our nations, usually we speak about two sectors, private sector, public sector. And we always forget in Mexico, and we forget down south about maybe the most productive sector, which is the academic sector, which is the intelligentsia, which is the engineering and the brilliant minds like we have here today. That should be part of the equation all the time. So let's never forget about those motives, late motives of compassion, those late motives that we have the responsibility to include everybody in development. Let's not forget that there's many people with hunger, that they don't have nothing to eat today in their tables. Let's not forget those 75% of kids that don't have opportunity to be in school. Otherwise, what is technology good for? If it's not to have a better world, if it is not to have every single human being having access to technology, it's incredible that today the world produces enough food to feed the 8 billion inhabitants of this earth of us. But it's incredible that have so many people that don't have access to that. So if we can produce, why cannot we create the access? And maybe this is a challenge for the economists, but the economists also need the capacities of technology so that people can have that access. Today, we're controlling cancer, we're controlling heart diseases, we're controlling obesity, we're working on diabetes, we're working on making sure that everybody has minimum Medicare access, and yet millions and millions and millions don't have that. We talk about distance attendance with technology to communities, to villages, but yet it's not there. So the challenge of technology is to make happier human beings that have real access to happiness in this life.
Thank you, President Fox. As a company, USD Global's fundamental mission is transforming lives through jobs, technology, training, and peace. And everybody asks me, why peace? Why is it, it's sort of an ethereal concept. Most of us here, including myself, we were born in India, land of Mahatma Gandhi. When I grew up, one of the most profound sayings that he had was when he said that he has found 1 million causes that he would die for, but never one to kill for. It had tremendous impact on me personally. And a little while ago, I came into contact with a gentleman called Jeremy Gilley out of London, who's a movie producer, who has founded this organization called Peace One Day. And if some of you are not familiar with this, it's an incredible organization. For the last 18 years or so, he has been single-handedly driving this message of having one day of peace in the world. He has September 21st as the Peace Day. And he has now convinced 600 million people to join this movement for Peace One Day. And all you have to do, if you believe in this concept, is on September 21st, simply apologize to someone you've done something wrong, that you've never had the courage to say sorry. That's all is required. Please check it out, Peace One Day. And I'm on the board of Peace One Day along with the chairman of Unilever. And the reason I think it is significant for all of us from India, and particularly from IIT, listening to commerce and technology and innovation and entrepreneurship, is a fundamental concept of peace, the word peace as a real thing, as opposed to something to be the purview of just some dreamers. What is your view?
See, well, let me start by thanking you for having sponsored the coming of Dalai Lama to Central Fox about a month ago. That's exactly the message where you link technology, material development, health, and all the aspirations of human beings with the real possibility of access to happiness. We must get in the feet of others that are suffering. We must take part of that understanding of how many things other human beings are not having. And so that message of peace, harmony that he brought there, and the message that has guided all my life, that is that through doing things for others, through being for others, is the shortcut to happiness, to joy within our hearts. And that's the only environment, the only way, peace and harmony, where we human beings perform at our very best. If we don't have that peace, inner peace, if we don't have peace in the community, if we don't have harmony on what we do, we will never reach our potential. And don't forget that we, each one, were born leaders. Every single human being is a leader. Unfortunately, many don't go within, don't ask the questions that Dalai Lama brought to our community. Who am I? What am I in this life for? What is my purpose? And purpose is a very meaningful word. We must have purpose on what we do in life. Once we do that, we discover our capacities. We learn that we can reach the unreachable. We learn that we can dream, that we can have aspirations for heroic accomplishments, and we grow up to that, and we perform like we never thought that we could perform. So this peace, harmony, ambiente, this compassionate feeling that we must all have, this message of your, this great man that you hosted in India and now is part of India and has nourished his thinking and his word with India's great philosophy, with India's great culture, with India's great capacity to meditate, great capacity to perform. So peace and harmony is the value of values.
Thank you, President Fox. As a young person joining in Coca-Cola at 21, 22, when you were very young, and in 15 years to become the CEO of Coca-Cola for Latin America and producing the most profitable results in the history of Coca-Cola, and then changing the future of a country by getting into politics and getting elected as the president, and now working with helping UST Global and citizens of Latin America, and in fact all over the world, to create industrial innovation and entrepreneurship. I salute you, Mr. President. Once again, thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to present to some of the best and the brightest talent in the world. And as all of us know, our mission of we don't know what will happen in the future, but we do know who holds the future in their hands. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Let's give them another round of applause. Gentlemen, thank you. On behalf of the IIT 2013 conference, we'd like to thank you and accept this token of our appreciation. Thank you again. We'll give him another round of applause. That was truly great.
Have one for him.
Yes.
We'll do another photo opportunity very quickly. Great, thank you, gentlemen, again. Moving right along, we just wanted to make a general announcement. There will be an inter-IIT singing competition, a very competitive singing competition in room 339 on the third floor at 5:30. Our next session will start at 2 p.m. in the breakouts room A, B, and C. We have a breakout on education, sustainability, energy, life sciences. The breakout rooms are located to your left. We'll have a short breakout before the sessions, and we'll see you back here for our energy plenary at 4 p.m. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the program.